Every week, we speak to brands that are doing anywhere from $250,000 to several $1 million a year. These brands all have different products, different markets, and different founders. But after more than 100 audits, we found something interesting. The same blind spots and the same missed opportunities. And in many cases, just fixing one of them could completely change the trajectory of the business. That's exactly what Kai and myself are going to talk about in this video. What 100 plus e-commerce audits have taught us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as we get into it. So Kai, after speaking to 100 plus of these brands, what's the common problem you see almost every single week?
There's a lot of problems that I come across. The number one thing that always stands out to me when I'm talking to these people is how they treat their business. For example, if we're talking about Amazon, we're taking that as a marketplace. They treat that platform as something that's not even important, as a secondary priority. I've spoken to someone in the recent past saying that I don't want to be an Amazon brand, but I want to do well on Amazon. And you don't necessarily have to be an Amazon brand to do well on Amazon. And what people refer to when they say an Amazon brand is like a person that gets a product that they basically copied from someone else and is just doing well on Amazon because they're working on margins and just it becomes a race to the bottom and they're just trying to do well on that platform. But you don't necessarily need to be an Amazon brand to do well on Amazon. You can be a recognized brand that you sell well through social media, direct to consumer website,
And also,
and B2B sales, etc. But why not, if you're also selling on Amazon, why not do a good job there too? Why not follow best practices on Amazon? Just because your main focus isn't Amazon in terms of that's your main source of revenue, you should still put in some effort in terms of building out the best practices in terms of how to market your brand and your product to make the most of it. And that's the same for Amazon, for Walmart, for eBay, for TikTok, and all of the above.
in terms of the opportunities, have there been any opportunities that you have identified and you can tell that brands are completely overlooking?
I think just diversifying in terms of the channels that you're using. A lot of brands will look at selling their products to retailers or to distributors. But if you can have these other channels that are going to be selling direct to consumer through TikTok Shop, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, whatever the case is for you, passively, if you have proper management, then you might as well also do those channels well as well. That makes the most sense, especially, having diversity in that end allows you to, in case one channel isn't doing very well or one channel fails, or for example, Amazon is getting a lot more expensive. A lot of our clients are moving onto TikTok Shop and start growing there because their referral fees and their FBT fulfilled by TikTok fees aren't as high as Amazon. Growing in that channel is going to be somewhere where you can still stay on Amazon and do a good job there, but allowing yourself to diversify is going to allow your brand to still grow and survive when other channels become more expensive or just less lucrative.
And on the side of patterns, are there any patterns you have noticed that keep repeating between these brands and that just stop them from scaling successfully?
One of the biggest one is, especially for like smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses that kind of stay on the smaller end, is trying to do things a bit cheap on the cheaper side, outsourcing it to maybe teams that don't have the quality skills to scale, and trying to do things yourself as someone who is flooded with responsibilities in growing the business and looking at strategic aspects to grow the business. As someone who's leading your team, the role should be more in a strategic and a leadership focus rather than going in and adjusting the advertising yourself or writing the copy yourself. If you can find people that are specialized in this area, that's really what's going to allow you to scale. Even if it costs you a bit of an investment to get premium services, if they know what they're doing and they're developing results that are going to deliver, then that's probably the route that's going to get you to your growth goals quicker.
Some of the times, and you know this, we talk to business owners and you can tell that there are certain blind spots they are either ignoring or don't just realize that these blind spots are evident in their business, but at the end of the day, it's stagnating their growth. Is there anyone that comes to mind right now that you think brands should be taking care of, taking note of?
I think a lot of CEOs and brand leaders aren't taking the next step to scale, is just not having the right team. But that, just thinking about that creates it makes me think about what are some kind of blind spots in the business. And I was just thinking about you, Arrey, actually working with a lot of our clients on the email side. I think that's one of the bigger blind spots in e-commerce that people don't really think about. Could you maybe go through for us what are some of those kind of blind spots and what could people be missing out on?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we see with most of the clients right now is, so you have this machine that's working very well. You have a store, you spend money on ads to acquire a customer. About 80% of the people who will fall on your offers are not going to buy the very first time. They don't get any follow-up email. There's no chasing. And at the end of the day, let's assume that your upfront cost to acquire a customer was $50. So you have spent $50 to get a customer to your store who will end up not purchasing. If you're not trying to make use of that traffic at the back end, which is email marketing, it means you have to spend another $50 to acquire a customer. And if your conversion rate is around 20%, at the end of the day, you see how much it costs you and how less profitable it will be. So I would say the blind spot is businesses spending upfront to try and bring people to their stores, but not putting in place a solid email marketing strategy that can retarget these people. Something as simple as an email campaign every single week, just like we're doing with other clients, that could literally change the game for some businesses. So I think it's a blind spot that if e-commerce brands start to think about, and by the way, just the most recent video we talked about was email marketing campaigns. If businesses could start to think about that and how to build a strategy that retargets visitors, that would literally change the game and in turn create an extra stream of income. Kai, and just as we round this up, I wanted us to just talk to business and brand owners that are watching this right now. For those that are watching this video and they're like, Kai, if I could fix one thing per month in my business, one thing this month, what would that be? What should I be focusing on?
So take it month by month. Look at kind of where your weak spots are in terms of your different revenue channels
Mhm.
and start fixing them one by one. Where do you have some budget that is being wasted that can be invested in fixing that side that is probably not growing or not profitable as much? I always look at list of priorities, whether it's your daily tasks or whatever. There's usually always one fire that needs to
Ye-
be put out.
Yeah.
That's your number one kind of like, this is what I need to do this week, this day, etc. Get this done. Otherwise, nothing else can get done. And for some people, those are different channels, but some of them get overlooked because they don't see the importance of it. But if you can have some of these marketplaces growing alongside while the rest of the business continues, then invest in those different channels. Maybe take a second look at your email marketing. How much are you actually leaving on the table by not having a proper email marketing strategy? Are you missing out by not going into TikTok right now? Amazon is getting a little bit expensive. A lot of people are moving into TikTok strategies, taking a look at doing that from a real professional manner. Have you looked into Google Ads? Have you looked into Meta Ads? Are you doing content strategy, etc.? All of these things from a marketing e-commerce perspective, you need to be looking at diversity to be secure in your business.
So in essence, what you want to do from here is just get a complete overhaul or an audit. And by the way, growthscalers can do your free audit, even if you're saying to us, guys, we're not going to work together this week. Maybe it might be the weeks ahead. Growthscalers wouldn't mind to still do your free audit and just show you some of the places where you might be leaving some money on the table. You can use the link in the description and speak to the team.